Hello there and welcome. And upon learning that I had the opportunity to make some Company of Heroes 3 content and then release it in time with the release of the Deutsche Africa Core and the pre-order campaign, I thought, oh, what a great opportunity. Maybe I could get more casual audience eyeballs on my YouTube channel. Not really my style. I mean, I'm not much of a campaign like, let's go, let's do this, guys, come on. That's not really my style. I can't do that. What I can do, though, is offer criticism at a vital stage. And I feel like I have to use my platform to voice my concerns about something that is glaringly wrong with Company of Heroes 3 at this point. There's a lot that is right, by the way. The design of the factions are looking so intellectually stimulating and like Moorish. It's like, oh, look, all these nooks and crannies to explore. That's great. I could go on with all the stuff that's great, but that doesn't help Relic right now. What helps them is throwing your hat into the ring, taking your super best friends with Relic hats off, and doing what's best for the game, the community, and quite frankly, the developer being part of the co-development program. You've got to get your voice out there. You've got to be public about it, and you've got to formulate your opinions. Take a breath, be polite, and be constructive, and hopefully get your point across, because there's no better time than right now. The code is having finishing touches applied, the last layers constructed in time for release later this year. They can recode it, they can do things in the future, they can iterate, but it'll always be a bit jankier and more hard to perform. Right now their team size is the largest it ever will be, and they're working flat out to make CoH3 ready for release. I'm sure they are, and they need to get the big things right now. So if you've got a point to make, do it now. Chapter 1 over. Chapter 2 of the video is now my 4 points on what should be a lot better about this UI right here. This is Company of Heroes 3. Welcome. The UI isn't as good as it could be. In fact, in my opinion, it's ugly. And there's 4 reasons we're not seeing it be as good as it should be. The 4 reasons are overall theme. What are they trying to do here? Are they trying to go for 1, minimalism, or 2, thematics and style? Let's go through some examples, shall we? And let's start where it all started with Company of Heroes 1. This is in the camp of minimalism. Company of Heroes 1, for its day, went for a UI that was just a heads-up display at the bottom of the screen. It did not interfere with your perception of the gameplay. It was subtle hues of grey that kind of felt like you were a commander overseeing the battle without having your eyes hurt and distracted by the bottom UI. We then went over to Company of Heroes 2, which was busier. The contrast levels were higher, the saturation levels were higher, and they had to do mega revisions on this after beta because they had a lot of bad feedback. Kind of where we are right now, actually. And they made it less obnoxious. What they were never able to do was fix the minimap, but we'll get onto that later. CoH3 wasn't too bad. And let's now talk about RTSs outside of this box. Let's talk about Warcraft 3. Oh yeah, baby. This is the best UI for an RTS ever, especially for when it came out. And for the people looking at it now, it may not look that great, but every race/faction in Warcraft 3 has its own bespoke, unique UI. Every part of the UI encapsulates a piece of information you need to know about. It's got a square minimap that is perfectly proportioned for the space it occupies. And just look at all the elements. Everything is utilized. It's a fantastic UI, and as I say, it goes for thematics and style, but it also nails minimalism. So this happens to be in both camps, but it just does such a good job. Warcraft 3 best in. Now we've got StarCraft 2. This doesn't actually use all the space it could do. There's a lot of black space in the bottom bar, and no one ever uses it. So what you could have done with StarCraft 2 is eliminate the bottom section in the middle, or make it a lot smaller. And you'll notice that, in my opinion, one of the best UIs out there today is Starship Troopers Terran Command. This isn't the best game ever, and I know it's not even a AAA title. It's barely a single A title, but it's a really good UI because it's vertically very short, and it uses exactly the space it needs to. It also does that whole classic heads-up display thing and creates a continuous space that it occupies, which is really pleasant because it feels like you can just focus on the game. So, yeah, and also, we're talking about thematics in point one. It just looks like it's part of the game, and it doesn't... It occupies both minimalism and thematics. It's, again, just a fantastic UI. Just looking now to see if there's any others I should talk about. And we also have the Dawn of War 2 UI. Now, this is beautiful. This doesn't hurt your eyes. It kind of has this space in the center, which is like very progressive for its time. I think it's 2011 this game was released, or even earlier, 2010, something like that. And for me, this is one of the best RTS UIs as well. It goes a little bit more vertical bars, but notice you can either be vertical bars of information, or perhaps you could be a horizontal bar of information. Never do you go for both. You kind of... Let me get my big cam on here because I need to use my thing. You kind of either go for like a U shape with two little bars here, or you go for one like that. You never go for hands there and there. You know what I mean? You don't cover too much of the screen. And I have some data to show you on how much screen they're currently occupying. At the bottom here, it's Company Heroes 1, 23%. Company Heroes 2 did increase because if you have the tooltip, which actually is most of where my magnifying glass cursor is there. So they went all the way up to 1/3 of the screen in with the unit icons. Company of Heroes 3 is currently at 23%, so the same as CoH3. But the problem is that it's not as clean. It could be as clean as this. If they cleaned it up, they could go from a staggering 23% down. This is all you need. Look at that. That's the same information. The same goddamn information, but in a far less occupying space area. And I actually have this. I've done it in kind of the game engine myself using OBS in a live scenario. I have done a better UI than the UI designers at Relic that are getting paid. They should pay me. I'm joking. But seriously, I know I'm not wrong. This isn't subjective here, guys and ladies. This is like, how much more of the game can you currently see? Let me get rid of my face. My face is ruining the effect of what I'm trying to show you. Look at that. Compare that to that. Like, it's night and day. You don't have to use this much of the screen. You don't have to do it. It's too much of the screen. You could be so much less with lost internet, apparently. Having a million videos open is not ideal, allegedly. But yeah, you could use so much less. And to be honest, this is my third take of this video because I sounded too passionate and not angry, but frustrated in the other takes. So yeah, overall theme, I'm not happy. They need to improve it. It's neither looking stylistically applicable to the scenario, or is it minimalistic enough? And the overall structure is not working. The structure is not working. Next, mini-map. This is the second big point I have to make. The mini-map is... I'm not even joking, it's 25% of the space it needs to occupy. I think I have a picture of this somewhere. I measured it. It's 25%. You have mini-maps like Terran Command, which are far bigger relative to the space they occupy. And this is a tilted square. We'll call it a diamond. A diamond approach, because if you rotate, it will always stay within the circle. It won't overlap. That's why they do it. And Company Heroes 1 was the exact same. Company Heroes 1 is somewhere over here. There's the beautiful tap map. This is not a video about tap map. This is about the UI in the game. But notice my cursor here. Notice that the minimap is the width of the circle in which it occupies. Ah, that's beautiful. Minimap. Yeah. Look at that circle. Look at that boundary. I just want to pause it on that because that was literally exactly what I'm trying to show. The minimap is the size it needs to occupy. Look at what is going on, man? What is going on? I've measured it. I have measured it. It's 25 to 30% of the overall space it occupies. Like, I'm drawing a square around the space the minimap area is occupying. And the actual map itself is 25%. I'm doing that passionate thing again. It's almost as though this is the new iPhone, right? That's the screen. We've gone back to the 90s. The usable area of information in the space it could possibly occupy. That's what's going on right now. We've got a 90s style mobile phone minimap. It's ridiculous. The buttons are actual buttons. This is poor. I'm going to be honest. It's poor design. It could be so much better. Just keep it. Keep it. I've got to keep it from being too passionate because people won't listen to me otherwise. Keep it simple. The minimap is what players are actually looking at. That's what they want to see. That's what they came to this area of the screen to see. Do not waste anything other than what you need to. Okay, redesign time. How do you fix it? The compass area, the circle here, stretches as far as the space it occupies to the left and to the bottom. This big blocky area, I'm going to draw a box here. This big blocky area does not need to exist. These buttons, I'm highlighting them, they should be around the circumference of the minimap container, if they're going to be anywhere at all. Circa the most highly rated RTS of all time, Company of Heroes 1's minimap. You know, I think even CoH3 did this better, actually. Let's go over to CoH3. Yeah, CoH3 did it better, but again, the actual minimap, I want to get my... Sorry, I'll just draw a square around it with a very small cursor here. You have to look there. Actually, I only picked a bit of YouTube up. But yeah, this square is, again, about 30-40% of the actual area. And we've gone backwards. We've gotten worse. Don't forget, by the way, this is a campaign map. Usually, the image asset behind it is for a multiplayer map is much smaller, especially for a 1 versus 1 or a 2 versus 2. So this would be even smaller in this mini map. It's bonkers. It's absolutely bonkers. And I'll bring on a point now about competitive players. Love Nest, Isilda, how do they play? With tactical map. That's right, children, with tactical map. Have you ever watched these guys stream? It's like this. A strobing effect where my hand is the tactical map. Why is it like that? Well, I'll tell you. The reason it's like that is because the minimap's too small. Too small. Dev M is the best player ever to not use tactical map. He is a minimap player because that's how he learns in CoH1 when his eyes were young. He was 13 and he was playing CoH1. His eyes, very similar to my eyes. He's got bad vision. So I've watched him play in person. He gets so close to the minimap now. He's getting like this close to the screen. UI team at Relic. Relic have just employed one of the greatest players of all time. He's working with you. Go and ask him to play CoH2. He gets so close to the screen, it's unreal. You're making one of a triple-time world champion, by the way. You're making his minimap too small. Make it bigger. Please, I'm begging you. I'm absolutely begging you. I've also got another point. Have I still got Age of Empires 4's UI somewhere? I did have it on one of my screens. Age of Empires 4, their community have been begging for a bigger minimap for the last 2 years. It's a really nice UI, by the way. It's very reminiscent of the Dawn of War 2 UI in general. Stylistically, it's good. Minimalistically, it's good. But minimap, just too small. Have made my point. I do not need to go on. Next point. Next point is this. I mean, it's looking good until you click that. This great that terrible? Why is that terrible? Well, I'm going to tell you why. It's got a huge protrusion. The protrusion is this guy here. Why, from the last pre-alpha, have they moved the unit portrait into the playable area of the screen? This is my playable area here, right? Not anymore, it ain't. You've got a man. You've got the picture of the guy you've got selected. Which I suppose is somewhat helpful to know what you've got selected. But come on, it already outlines itself. We've already got the kind of criticism of the graphics saying we can't make out individual squads well enough. You're now drawing us to the UI, and it's a protrusion, and it's unnecessary, quite frankly. Let me load up one video. I just need to make sure you see. I've already got it. Good. Here we go. It's this. This is how it used to look. Pioneer Squad faded behind the writing. That was so much better. Cursor, here. They're now occupying this space in the middle of your screen, ladies and gentlemen, and we want it back. We do not want whatever that is. It's unnecessary, and I have never seen an RTS break conventions and have something there. It's never happened. It's always been a U shape, either shallow or tall. We have never ever had that. So that just has to go. I'm begging you. I don't know. Okay, there's some good new information. I'm not going to lie. Vehicle armor's fantastic. But there's no reason this vehicle portrait could not be faded behind the writing there. You had it going on in your first attempt. This, let me press play, was working. Like, you could have had the tank a little bit higher up, maybe, so it kind of like is popping out of the square. I mean, how cool would that have been? You don't have a picture of the... We want to be focused on the tiger here. That's the tiger. There. Not here. You're bringing us out of the game, and you're insisting on us with your UI. It's not good design. It's never been done before, and the kind of forefathers and foremothers of RTS from the 2000s, they had the UI looking like how the Terran command guys have their UI. That's the sensibility. This is very much like one of the granddaddies of RTS gaming, the guy that was designed, of course, Total Annihilation and Supreme Commander. His UI was looking like this by the time he'd gotten out of release. And that's why Starship Troopers Terran Command's UI is just so reminiscent of Supreme Commander. It's sleek, it's shiny, it's modern, and it conveys the information it needs to convey. The UI's job is to convey information. It is not to be blocky and in the center of the screen looking like a mobile game. Fourth point. Chapter 4. Contrast levels. They're all over the place. And I'm not talking about the graphics, which admittedly... that something's not quite right about the colour palette, but that's not the UI team's fault. I, for one, think somehow Company Heroes 1 looked better. I think, like, there's just something about the contrast and the saturation that is better in Co 1. They nailed it in 2005. How did they do that 17 years ago? We'll never know, but they just did. There's something about the way the game looks in Company Heroes 1. I know we're on the desert now, but this actually brings my contrast levels back to the UI. Look at that minimap compared to that rock. That is what is called a strobing effect. And we're leading into many strobing effects in Company Heroes 3. Not only are the players yet again going to be forced to be TAC map only if they want to be world champions in Co 2, they're also going to have strobe effect in the UI itself. Because this is dark grey. We've got a little bit of light grey. We've got no translucent textures like we did going more so in Company here in the pre-alpha, the last pre-alpha. We've gone full-on opaque in some scenarios. Oh, hang on. There is a little bit translucent. You can just about see on my very expensive monitor stuff moving behind the UI. But for whatever reason, they've ratcheted the opacity up. we've gone from 80% opacity to 90. If you ever messed around in Photoshop, you know how big that is. And right now it's causing a huge issue. Pirates wore an eye patch, not because they were blind in one eye. It was to be able to go below deck and be able to see in darkness. The strobing effect on the human retina and the rods, the cells at the back of the eye that receive light and the intensity of light, it's a huge factor in readability and usability. And right now we've got a black-white scenario going on. We've got the like snow blindness kind of effect. Well, it's actually the desert, so I suppose the sun blindness of you think you need sunglasses to play the game, and then all of a sudden you have to look at the UI and you're like, what is going on here? Wow, dark. Okay, dark mode engaged. Right, back to the sun. And these RTS gamers like us are going from one to the other very quick. What is going on? It's just not showing good sensibility. I'm sure that's a very talented UI team, but something's core fundamentals are being missed out on. Obvious things are being missed out on. And there is some design by committee effect here where they need to just say, no, readability, contrast, theme, structure, it all has to be nailed because there's too many elements going on and it's too busy, and they're losing vision of creating something that's usable and pleasant. Because, as I say, contrast levels, black to white is not helpful on the human eye. Okay. That was really negative. I'm sure the UI team are incredibly talented people, but I just feel a little bit frustrated and very passionate about the UI because I noticed, I was really excited that it could look as good as it possibly could do. And what I mean is how I think it should look, which is either you have the UI icons in the top right or the bottom left, wherever, and you have it so it doesn't occupy all of the screen. And this is what I was going on about here. It'd be great if it was customizable, if you could, if you could do what you want with it. I mean, this is my vision for how the UI could and possibly should look. Thank you for watching. I appreciate that this video has been a huge rant, but my main takeaway is two things. One, if you disagree with me, I want to know. If you agree with me, I also want to know, because I want to put my case forward to Relic that they need to revise the UI in a big way. They need to get back the theme of what they're going for. They need to increase the size of the minimap. They need to improve the overall structure, and they need to get the contrast levels way better. Okay? So if you agree, please feel free to join your opinion in with mine. If you disagree, tell me why. The second major thing I want you to take away from this video is if you've got your own feedback for Relic, there's no better time than right now to throw your hat in the ring and, make your voice heard. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Feel free to subscribe if you'd like to. Do all the tournaments and stuff for Company Heroes, or try to. And, I've got a lot of great backlog of videos for you to go and watch. Thanks for your viewership, and enjoy the Company of Heroes 3 mission. I've actually played it, and it is very enjoyable. It's good to finally get Panzer 3s, and it's really good to have this feeling of you're helping the Italians because they do need your help. So get out there and get it done. Cheers.